It's a matter of time, dark skies and howling winds. The sun is come and gone, what stands will surely fall. Chaos is coming, chaos is coming down.
Hi guys, how are you doing? This is Sebastian from TechCentury and welcome to another review here on the channel. Today we're checking out the Air 2S gimbal by Moza. Now the video that you've seen here at the beginning of this video was completely shot using this gimbal as well as my Sony A7 III, which I'm currently recording this video on. This is why you see my A7 I here on the gimbal, just for demonstration purposes. And of course there was no post stabilization added to this video at all. And especially if you combine this gimbal with 100 frames per second video capture, then the results are amazing and you definitely don't need any post processing or post stabilization at all, which is super nice. Now I have to say that unfortunately I didn't get to shoot as much footage as I would have liked to because of some scheduling issues in the past couple of weeks, but still I wanted to give you my thoughts on this gimbal and what I like and don't like about it so far. So first let's start off with the positive aspect, and first off I really have to say that I like that there's this case or carrying case included inside of the box, because this isn't the case on a lot of gimbals these days. And this not only contains the gimbal itself as well as also the tripod, but also the other accessories, for example like the shutter release cables for different cameras. So no matter if you're like a Canon or Sony shooter, you should be ready to go. And especially on my A7 III, this worked absolutely flawlessly, also using the buttons here on the rear to control just shooting videos and also photos. And I personally just have to say that I think these carrying cases or cases overall that are included inside of the box of products are definitely underrated, because especially at days like today where it's rainy outside, they offer a nice bit of protection for your gimbal or other product, and it's also just super convenient to have all the accessories right there in the box as well, so that you don't have to carry everything separately or throw everything into the backpack, and especially with a gimbal this isn't the best idea. Now moving on, what else do I really like? Well, next up I definitely have to mention the build quality, because I think this is actually excellent, and also here the grip is super nice and it doesn't slip out of my hands, which is the case on some other gimbals. On top of that, also the battery life was quite excellent, and you can probably also see right here that we have this super nice battery life indicator down here, and of course this gimbal is also easily charged using a USB-C port, which is super convenient as well. But now before moving to the negative aspects, of course I also have to mention the stabilization itself, because I think the stabilization is fantastic and I'm really happy to see that, because the back, then also with this build quality, the battery life, and then also the excellent stabilization is definitely a really nice and well-rounded package overall. But I also have to say that there are a couple of things I don't really like about this gimbal, and these are the following. First off, I don't like that the display that you can see here on the back of this gimbal is rather small. So you basically just have like 2 or 3 menu points there, and it's not a touchscreen either. On other gimbals, for example, like also the AK2000C by Firetech, you have a bigger display that's also touchscreen, and this just makes choosing the different modes a lot easier. And that being said, I think overall the menu structure could also be improved here on this gimbal as well. And also, for example, modes like time-lapse or object tracking, they are basically easily accessible through the app that's available for iOS and Android, but not really that easily accessible here on the gimbal itself. So this is something where I just really prefer to have all the options built into the gimbal itself, so that you don't need a companion app. Of course, it's great to have the companion app, for example, also for remote controlling it with your smartphone, but I just wish that that was purely optional and that you can still like use all the features without the app. And that's just not really that easy here with the menu structure that you find here on this gimbal. Now on top of that, well, again, stabilization is quite awesome, and it also works super nice here with my 105mm macro lens by Sigma. I also have to mention that I just think this gimbal is actually quite big. And when it comes to gimbals, especially accessories that you mount your camera to, I have to say that the smaller the better, at least if it offers the same performance. And therefore I wish that the gimbal was at least a little bit shorter, because it's quite big. And that, of course, for one, makes carrying around it more difficult and more cumbersome. And on top of that, also just the weight in your hand. If you add the camera and then maybe also another accessory, then it just gets quite heavy in your hand. So I would prefer if the gimbal was a little bit more compact. But I have to say, these are basically my major gripes. Now, I don't really just use the gimbal, for example, for outdoor, for recording our dogs, or also for customer projects, but a lot of times I also use it for shooting B-roll here for tech products. For example, like you've seen in my last video here on the channel, which was my review of the VD Live microphone system. And there I basically just used the time-lapse mode to get really precise movements, or you could also just turn down the sensitivity on the iPhone to 1% and then just control it with virtual joystick, which also works quite well. So also for product B-roll, this is a super nice solution. And this also wraps up my video, so let me know what you think of this Moza R2S in the comments down below, and thank you very much for watching, and I really hope to see you next time.